Pennsylvania. Whoa, who's let that child loose? Can we, Isn't she gorgeous? That's Callie, by the way. And I flew into an event in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all the way from Australia. And I saw a person on stage that made me put a band on my wrist almost 5 years ago. It was the first time in my life that I believed that I could actually be an SVP. And I put this band on my wrist. You don't want to smell it, by the way. And it hasn't come off in 5 years, and I promised myself that I'd be an SVP when I cut this off. The young lady that inspired me was for the charity for ACN that weekend, and she was a quadriplegic. And I sat in the front row as she did a slideshow and showed what an incredible life she lived with her limited body and physical limitations. And I sat in the front row and I cried and I sobbed, and I realized that I was a coward, and that woman had more courage in her pinky than I had in my body, and that I had been doing this business for a little over 5 years, and I didn't believe I could be an SVP. And that woman gave me the courage to be an SVP. I put the band on my wrist and I said I'd cut it off on stage. So Kason, if you'd help me, baby. I'm going to cut this off after 5 years of being on my way to SVP. Thank you. Thank you, that's gone. I tell you, when I joined ACN, I would definitely never been voted most likely to succeed in ACN. I didn't have the background. I didn't have the personal growth and development. You know, I was an accountant by trade. I'm sure you know some accountants. You know, they told me I was in a people business, and I said, well, that's not good news because I don't even like people. And yet I got started. I actually had a lot of success. Within 100 days, I was a team coordinator, and I decided I better learn a little bit about this network marketing business, never been involved. And I got a couple books. I watched Tim Sales, and I watched his video about what network marketing was about. I read a book called Wave 4, and I read another book called Your First Year in Network Marketing. And in that book it said that if I spent 10 years with one company, I'd have an income beyond my belief. And I thought, I could do 10 years, you know, and if I just put in the time, I could be at that position at some point, and within 1 year I'd walk the stage as a 5-star regional vice president. And I thought to myself, man, I'm not going to need 10 to be up here. But 4.5 years later into the business, I had literally one working representative. Your income in this business is directly requisite to who you are as a person. And I wasn't the person that deserved the success that I wanted so bad. And I had one working representative, David and Amy Walls. I love you guys. Thank you so much for staying with me. And I got a bright idea. There was a continent going to launch. It was called Australia. I sat down with Lisa. After failure, you know, we'd go through spurts, and I would find a way to destroy it. And I sat down with Lisa, and I asked her if she would give me one more chance. And God bless my wife. She's the strongest woman in the world, I tell you. She absolutely always stood by my side through all the challenges, through all the ups and downs. This woman is a rock. I love you. I love you, Lisa, so much, baby. And we sat down, and I said, I can do this thing. I know I can do it. It's only 4.5 years in. And I have to tell you, our doubts were there. 10 years, right? I said 10 years. If you gave it 10, I was 4.5 in, and I had basically nothing at that point. And I decided I needed a coach. I needed somebody that was going to teach me the way. And I told Lisa I was born again coachable. I called Mr. Shane Gates. I asked him if he could coach me. He said he would. He took me under his wing, and then instantly I called him with a bright idea. I said, I want to go to Australia. I want to control a continent. I want to override a country. And he said, absolutely not. You need to stay in America. Great advice, no doubt about it. And I went to bed that night. I got up the next day, and I turned to Lisa and I said, remember how I was going to be coachable and the whole new leaf thing? That's not going to work for me. I think people have lost faith in me. But I haven't lost faith in myself. And I called Mr. Gates and I said, I got good news and bad news. Good news is I'm going to Australia. Bad news is I need $1,000 to get there because I can't afford a plane flight. And we went to Australia to begin to build an organization, and we found some great people, and we began to build. And within 24 24 days of launching that country, we were sued by the federal government of Australia. And I want to know how many of you would be here today if that was happening here. And it was a crushing blow, and I have to tell you, in my mind, I was terrified. But I was blessed with knowledge. I was blessed with the knowledge of these founders, and I knew what they would do in the face of that accusation. I knew they would stand and fight. I knew they wouldn't turn their back on our people. I knew they would throw every resource at this that they possibly could. And armed with that knowledge, I said, I need to be the leader that they need me to be. I need to step up, and I took that lawsuit. It was bogus. I read it. I tore it apart. I put my comments in that email. I sent it to my team, and I held a conference call. And I said, guys, this is bogus. We're going to win. But winning is not going to matter because it's going to be the hardest year of your life. And you're going to fight battles. It's going to be brutal. And it was brutal. For every 3 people that would join, 2 would quit the next day. It got to the point where people would sit in home meetings with the article in their back pocket. And after we were all done, they would wave it at us and say, these guys are scammers. They're being sued by the government. I got to the point where I started to do home meetings, where I just get to the front of the room and I just say, hey, we're being sued by the government. And if you can't handle that and see the vision of where this company is going to be in Asia Pacific, then you just need to get out now. And we worked hard that year. It was absolutely amazing. At the end of that year, it was coming time for that lawsuit to find a resolution. And I have to tell you, I'm not ashamed to say, I decided that if this was it, and if we lost that lawsuit, I was going to quit. That this business must not be for me, because we'd had so many challenges. And the way I always saw it happening is I was going to get a phone call, and if it was going to be good news, it was going to be Shane Gates that was going to call me. And if it was bad news, it would be Greg Provenzano, the way I saw it. It was 11 o'clock at night. I was out to dinner with my leaders, and the phone rang. And the voice on the line says, Matt, it's Shane. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I got Greg Provenzano on the phone. Only time in my life I never wanted to hear from Greg. And they said, Matt, we got bad news. We've lost that lawsuit. And I'd walked outside of the restaurant, and you know how when you get in an accident, your life flashes in front of you, and you're 10,000 steps ahead? Well, my life flashed in front of me, and I realized I wasn't quitting. If it was the 5th time, if it was the 10th time, if it was the 100th time, I wasn't quitting. What was I going to do? Go back to being average? To a normal life? Just give up on my hopes and dreams, on my family? I wasn't quitting. I was going to be there for this company, for all my team, no matter what happened. So I said, Mr. Provenzano, just tell me what to do. Where do I go? What do I say? How do I keep these people in the system? And then Shane says, well, shall we tell them? I said, tell them what? We won. Would produce the #1 worldwide numbers for ACN out of 20 countries. Just like I told them it was going to happen for them today, the #1 income earners in our group, we have the most amazing group in Australia marketplace. I just love those individuals. Some of them are on the phone right now listening into this. The texts and emails and the love that we've gotten and what we did in that market was incredible, but I live in America and I had to come home. And it was time to come back here and build. And it was about 2 years ago that we just started our teams, and I think I had the most precious moment of my entire career in ACN, maybe my life. It was Mother's Day in 2008. And a rep called me. Now we're brand